something that they want. This is how the world works, folks. I mean, this is not fair. It sucks. It's not very polite, but this is life. Right. And so effectively what Guyana is going to deal with now that Guyana has all this wealth, now that Guyana is just sitting on swole financially, they are going to have a military that can defend that country. And if they cannot form that military, they sit back and say, well, we just hope nobody attacks us because that would just be mean. Then they're not going to have that oil for very long. Right? This is economic warfare. Economic warfare happens all over the world. It's a very big deal. It's not going to stop. And I encourage you to just understand. In fact, if you listen to most people that have a lot of money, you'll notice that people that have money have to move differently from everybody else. We want to believe the fantasy that, oh yeah, when I get rich, I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to keep it humble. I'm never going to change. No, you're going to change a little bit. I mean, you can still be humble, but you're going to have to change because you're going to have to protect what you have because there are predators in the world who will try to take your wealth. Will Smith openly mentioned that he has 8 attorneys on retainer all the time just because he gets sued all the time no matter what. Just yesterday I was talking to my one of my good buddies, Willie D from the Ghetto Boys, he was in my wedding. I mean, Willie and I are very close, and we were talking about lawsuits and just people suing for frivolous reasons and weird things that happen and how to fight that type of thing, right? This happens to anybody that has any resource, but it's not just lawsuits. It can be, if you're going through the hood and you just got that. How many times have you ever heard stories about a guy who grew up in the hood and he got some NBA contract and he's driving through the hood in a Bentley with 50 gold chains and a $100,000 watch and $40,000 in his wallet, and he gets robbed. Right. So he's not thinking about the protection of his economics. He's thinking that people are going to see me the same with money than they see me without money. No, that's not true. Look at Diddy right now. And Diddy has a $1 billion empire that he's worked his butt off. He's done the accumulation process. I don't understand how he did it exactly because I don't think his music's been very good for a long time, but he's been able to make it work for him, right? But now Diddy is the target of a lot of lawsuits coming from people that have some issue with him, right? Maybe he did it, maybe he didn't. But the thing is, they wouldn't be suing Diddy if he was poor. I said Duty. Sorry, maybe that's why I got to call him Duty because his music is Duty. I'm sorry. Sorry, Diddy, your music, you just. But anyway, so the point of the matter, though, let's get serious though, is that you have to be able to protect your economics when you get to a point of securing and accumulating wealth. So protection strategies might consist of little things like understanding the legalities of things, estate planning and trusts and things like that. It might reflect the kinds of friends you have. You'll find wealthy people are very picky about who their children marry, and people think that they're being uppity. No, it's because they're trying to protect their wealth. They're thinking if you marry a bum who takes all your money, well, then that person is going to hurt the family, and we're not going to let that happen. So that's why if you're in, say, the family of like Warren Buffett or something, they're very, very picky about the types of people that you bring into the family. In fact, Warren Buffett had a granddaughter. He's so protective of his wealth. He had a granddaughter that broke one of the family rules, which is to not speak to the media. He said he's literally, it's so funny. Warren Buffett, this little old man, he's kind of gangster. He literally says to his family, "Keep my name out your mouth. Like, do not say my name in public about anything private that goes on in this family." And he had a granddaughter that did one interview and talking about what it's like to be Warren Buffett's granddaughter and what's going on in the family. He cut her out of the will. Now again, I'm not saying that that's what you should do, mind you, but this is the difference, right? And again, it's sometimes called for because let's look at an example where somebody ignored this rule and they paid a price for that. I think Tupac Shakur ignored this rule. I think Tupac Shakur, if you look at his life right before he was killed, he was always in places and situations that a wealthy celebrity probably shouldn't be in, right? He because he wanted to keep it real and stay street and thug life and all that, he would be getting in fights with people and he'd be at the house party just kind of mingling with just any and everybody. And I respect that, right? Because he was clearly a man of the people and that's an honorable thing. But I think that he didn't have enough economic consciousness to understand that you're at a different level. And so you've got to kind of be careful about the spaces that you operate in because you are surrounded by people who need money, who maybe they're a little bit jealous or whatever, right? So protecting your wealth. If you want to understand this a little more deeply, just talk to a rich person. And some of y'all in here are rich, actually. I've talked to some of you, so I know some of you are wealthy, and you can probably relate to this. I remember Michael Roberts. Michael Roberts he runs companies. His companies are worth over $1 billion, and he's actually going to join us in the Black Business School. He and I are going to co-teach a class together. Michael Roberts said something in an interview that I thought was really powerful. He said, "Rich people are loud." He said, "But wealthy people whisper." So rich, I guess for him, rich might mean, okay, you got a little bit of money and you want everybody to know you have money. So you flex on the Instagram and you do all these things to let people know that your status is elevated. And then eventually when you get used to having money and you truly become wealthy and you get into wealth preservation, then you start whispering. You just kind of keep it to yourself. You don't want everybody knowing your economic situation. In fact, you get to a point where you don't want anybody to know that you even have money. All right. So anyway, let me move down and talk about some of the things that are going on economically that you may be interested in. Okay, number one, Spotify is laying off 17% of its workforce, and I thought that was really interesting because Spotify, even though they were bleeding money like crazy, spending all this money on podcasts and doing all these other things that were pretty financially wild because they just had so much capital available, they finally became profitable, so I was surprised that they laid off 17% of their workforce. Some see this as an indicator that that's number one. These companies, a lot of these tech companies, they used to have a model of just sort of grow at all costs, where they would just pile it on and hire as many people as possible, and because they had just this endless supply of capital. Uber used to do this too, and so now they're reining that back in. Now they're actually forced because they're in a different economic environment where the cost of capital is higher. Now they have to kind of rein it in a little bit, right? Because when the cost of capital is low, and let me explain what that means. Basically, interest rates. When the Fed has increased interest rates, what it's done is it's made it more expensive to borrow money, right? A lot of you, maybe if you have a mortgage or you're looking to get a mortgage, you're seeing where the interest rates are higher on the mortgage. Well, the same thing happens with corporations. They borrow money in order to pay the bills, particularly before they start making a profit, and they're seeking to grow or whatever. And when the cost of capital is low, when interest rates are low, they're able to just borrow a ton of money and just grow at all costs and borrow more money and more and more and more and just kind of keep going. It's like getting a rental car where the rental car fee is like, $2 a day. Well, you're going to rent as many cars as you want. You're going to rent Lamborghinis and stuff, and you're going to keep them for years because it's only $2 a day. But if they suddenly say, no, actually the rental fee for a car is $200 a day, well, then you're going to have to be a little more efficient in how you rent cars. You're not going to waste those cars as much. You're going to use them a little more effectively. So effectively, since the cost of capital has gone up, you're seeing companies kind of having to sort of rein in and pull back and actually force themselves to become profitable. So also this is seen as an indicator that there could be a recession kind of down the pike, down the road, and that could be a problem as well. All right, so the second thing that's been going on is that Bitcoin has been going berserk. Bitcoin, any y'all give me a yes in the chat if you own Bitcoin, please. Just somebody say yes. Somebody tell me that I haven't been just talking for nothing. Because if you've been listening, you know I've been telling you I like Bitcoin. I just do. I'm not saying you have to do what I do. It's not investing advice. Every investment does not work out. I have to make that clear because sometimes if it doesn't work out, I don't want you to think that we don't know what we're talking about just because you're gonna miss shots. Give me a yeah. Okay, thank you, Vanita, and I saw Aisha and Denise said I just bought some yesterday after Prime class. Good, excellent. Claudia, good to see you. All right, excellent. Okay, good. So somebody's listening. Thank you, Lord. All right. So, all right. So here is why it was great that you bought Bitcoin before. Here is also why I believe buying more Bitcoin now is a good move. I'm not telling you this is going to happen for sure, but this is my best assessment. Bitcoin has been going up largely because the Federal Reserve has stopped increasing interest rates. That reduced cost of capital pretty much boosts the value of most types of financial assets that are out here, especially stocks and crypto. To some extent, it even boosts the value of real estate a little bit. Lower interest rates or the fact that they've stopped hiking interest rates is wonderful because now they're predicting that they're going to actually reduce interest rates next year. Why is that? Well, because there is a recession likely around the corner. It's nothing to freak out about. I'm going to actually go through an article in a second to talk about our fears of recession. to prepare you for that, don't forget, in the Black Business School, we have the Black Financial Therapy Department. Make sure you text STOCK to 31996. I'll let you guys know when we're doing events. Alicia's gathering her therapists together for the next session as we speak. So I'll let you guys know. Text STOCK to 31996. And the reason that we have the Black Financial Therapy Department is because some of us freak out when it comes to where our money is going or what happened to our investments, or you look at your 401k statement and it looks bloody red, and you feel like you're losing money. And to some extent, a lot of it's in a hallucination called the wealth effect. The wealth effect is where when things are going down in value, you start feeling like you're less wealthy. So you start doing things that a poor person will do. You start holding your money in. You start getting scared. You stop making investments. You start maybe you have anxiety, can't sleep at night, things like that. I'm not saying that some of that couldn't be warranted. I'm just saying that sometimes you're freaking out. If you're going to freak out, make sure you're freaking out over something real and not over something that's just a figment of your imagination or something that's very, very temporary, right? It reminds me of how I remember when I was young and I said, it's kind of sad to me when I hear about somebody, a 17-year-old who kills himself over their girlfriend or their boyfriend, right? Their boyfriend or girlfriend left them and they feel like it's the end of the world. And then next thing you know, they killed themselves. And I was like, that's so crazy because the feelings that you're having about that relationship are very temporary. If you the sooner you can pick up and move on, like 6 months later, you'll probably meet somebody better and you won't even care about your ex anymore. But yet now you're eliminating the whole rest of your life, because of one person that did something that is going to have a temporary effect on you. But sometimes we get trapped in the moment. A lot of investors get trapped in the moment. They look at what's happening right now and they think that right now is everything. They think, give me a yes if you follow what I'm saying. Let me know if you get this. They think that today, this year, right now, this month, that is all that there is. And really, when they say things like this too shall pass, stuff like that, that fits into something that I've talked to you guys about, which is called investor vision. Investor vision, a good investor practices the ability to not just see what's happening right now. They don't just see things happening in three dimensions, length, width, and height, what's around them. They see the fourth dimension and the fifth dimension. What's the fourth dimension? I'm gonna get a little weird right now, but I think you're gonna get this. The fourth dimension, it can be time. That means that I don't just see what's happening right now. I'm looking at the past, and I'm looking at how the present compares to the past. How far we've come, or how far down it's gone, or whatever, right? But then also I'm looking at the future. And so I'm considering the fact that, you know what, there's a whole lot of the game left to be played. And what just happened in the second quarter does not define the entire game. So let's just figure out what the game plan is going to be. What's the fifth dimension? Well, the fifth dimension isn't just time. The fifth dimension is all the possibilities of time, right? So a person that lives in, I actually live not just in the fifth dimension. In my mind, I live in the sixth dimension. They say God lives in the sixth dimension. I'm explaining why. I'm not going to get too weird on you now, but this is literally how I think. Because in mathematics, we always talk about dimensions. So the fifth dimension means that you're not just seeing the past and the present and the future. You're seeing what the past could have been, right? So you're not just looking at, if you have a win or a loss, you're not just looking at what you won and what you lost. You're looking at the things you lost that you didn't even think about or that you didn't even pursue. In economics, they call that the shadow price. The shadow price is like, if I go, let's say that I have the chance to go to a job where I'm going to make $25 an hour, but instead of going to that job, I go to do something else that makes me $15 an hour. Well, there's a shadow price because I lost an opportunity. I gave up something to go get something else, right? I could have done this, but instead I did that, right? So it's not just sort of what actually happened. It's all the things that could have happened, right? So the fifth dimension is kind of like I'm looking at my past and I'm thinking, yeah, I saw what happened to me. What would have happened if I had done this? What would have happened if I had done that? And there's infinite possibilities there. Do you follow what I'm saying, right? There's an infinite number of things I could have done in the 10th grade other than what I actually did, right? Or if I'm looking at yesterday and me and my wife let's say me and my wife go eat dinner yesterday and I'm looking at the past. That's the fourth dimension, right? I'm looking at what happened and trying to thinking about it and everything else. But then the fifth dimension is where I say, well, we went to dinner, but we could have went to the movies. We could have stayed home and watched Netflix. We could have, I could have sat and just cuddled with her and gave her kisses all night, right? You see what I mean? So effectively, the fifth dimension allows you to see all the possibilities. And so then when you look at your future, you understand how wide open the universe is for all the possibilities that could exist for you. right? You can imagine your life in a lot of different scenarios, right? So to me, that's investor vision, because the other thing that the fifth dimension gives you, that broad investor vision, the ability to see all the possibilities, is it prepares you for this big phenomenon in investing. One of the biggest factors in investing and pricing, right up there with time, is risk. Right? I talked to you guys about how time, I think last night in prime class, we were talking about time, information, and expectations, but then you can also throw in risk. Risk is extremely important. And what is risk? Risk is that ability to look in the fifth dimension and look at all the things that could happen, all the things that can go wrong, right? So when I look at with my investor vision, when I look at 2024, I'm not just looking at what we expect to happen. I'm looking at all the things that could happen. What if there's a war? What if the Fed lowers interest rates before anybody expects? What are the surprises that can come in, good and bad, that could completely change everything? And am I kind of mentally prepared for that too, right? And then the sixth dimension, they say that that's where God lives, and the sixth dimension is kind of like, it's like an infinite number of possibilities, an infinite number of fifth dimensional realizations, right? So it's kind of like you're not just looking at what things could have been. You're literally starting at the origin point and just imagining entirely new realities. Like, what if I had been born a fish? Like stuff like that. It sounds crazy, but we'll talk about that later. I don't want to, I'm already sounding like a weirdo, but I hope that all makes sense. So I want to encourage you to have investor vision and not just look at what happened, look at what could have happened. Don't just look at what you expect to happen. Look at all the things that could happen, and that'll give you a better ability to prepare for different risks. A lot of people that invest, when they put everything in one stock, or they put all their money in one crypto, or they think that only one outcome is going to occur. I think that people like that, unfortunately, they end up very disappointed, or they get broadsided by what they call black swan events. Black swan events are when you get hit upside the head by something that you never thought was going to happen in the first place, right? Something you never even considered as a possibility. Black swan events exist all throughout finance. So remember that when you talk about information, which is one of the most important parts of stock market strategy and all that, you've got the known, the unknown. The known is very, very tiny, by the way. You know very little. We all know very little. I have a PhD. I know very little. The best thing I learned from all that education is how little I actually know. So you have the known, and then you have a bigger space called the unknown, right? The unknown's pretty broad, but then you have the unknown unknown. You have the things that are going to affect you that you don't even know are going to even affect you. You're not even wondering how that's going to play out because you're not even thinking about it. You understand? So ultimately, get your investor vision together so you don't get trapped in the moment. And then when you can do that, what you'll do is you'll end up investing like, say, a Warren Buffett, where Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, rest his soul. He's a great guy, brilliant man. I liked him a lot. These were people that would go in and they would do stuff like they would buy stuff that nobody else wanted, and then they would just sort of wait for the price to go up. Or they could see things other people could not see because they had really good investor vision. Okay. All right. So now, by the way, some of you were asking, I want to mention also the Black Wealth Calendar. Yeah. Our team is finishing up the calendars now. If you want to get a Black Wealth calendar for 2024, I don't know if we can get it to you by Christmas though, but we could probably get it to you definitely by, January 1st or close to it. So we will have that ready very, very soon. Don't forget to get on the text list. Just text the word stock to 31996, and that's where I'll just kind of send you stuff as things are happening. And then also the financial flashcards and workbooks might make great gifts for your kids. As you get gifts for your children for the holidays, I hope you'll consider giving them something that is more valuable than a toy. Toys are there's no, I don't see the economic value long term of the child having another toy. But what if you get them a tool? I think I prefer tools over toys, and sometimes a tool can also be a toy. And so anyway, a tool might be financial flashcards. If you want to go take a look, financialflashcards.com. We have flashcards on credit. We have flashcards on real estate. We have flashcards on my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, if you want to teach those concepts to your kids. I can tell you that these concepts, if your children know these ideas, even on a very basic level, they will, at the age of 10, be ahead of 80-90% of the population. I'm not kidding. One of the things that makes capitalism work, sorry, give me a second. My voice is disappearing. Hold on. Let me drink some water real quick. Sorry. One of the things that makes capitalism work so well is that there are so many people who don't understand how it works at all. That's what makes it work so well. Basically, what the capitalists do, who are at the top of the food chain, is they are masters at manipulating us psychologically so that they can drive your subconscious mind to let go of your money. And the thing is, it's sometimes it's malicious, sometimes it's not. It may not be malicious in the sense that one thing that they do that isn't necessarily bad is they find out what you need and they offer you what you need. So Home Depot, Walmart, Target, they do surveys and they find out, okay, people really they like, when they buy scissors, they like the scissors with the rubber on the fingertips so it doesn't hurt your fingers instead of the metal or whatever, right? So they start selling scissors, they have the rubber on the fingertips, right? So effectively, to some extent, that's the good side of it, right? That they offer you what you need and you're happy to pay it, right? But then there's like the other side of it where the economy, a dangerous component of the economy, a dangerously large segment of the economic engine in America, is driven by consumer addiction, is driven by a relentless need for people have that is given to them from birth to just buy stuff, to just buy and consume things, and so this shows itself in the fact that credit card debt is at a record high. Student loan debt is incredibly high. Also, what was the other one I was thinking about? Um, oh gosh, there was one more thing I was processing on that besides the credit card debt. I can't remember, but anyway. So, so the thing is, what they're doing is they're kind of tricking you into doing the impossible. They're not giving you more in terms of your wages, right? Your jobs are not paying more money, but the cost of everything is going up. And so as the cost of everything's going up, because you're so addicted to spending money and addicted to buying things, particularly during the holidays, you're gonna go and max out that credit card in order to buy that thing. That's the third category I was thinking about. Even car notes, car loan amounts have hit record highs. All these things have hit record highs. Why? Well, because we convinced you that it makes sense to spend $600 on a car note, and or maybe you feel like you have to do it, or maybe you feel like you have to look a certain way and drive a certain type of car, or whatever, right? So effectively, giving your kids economic intelligence and financial consciousness at an early age, and I do encourage you to bring your children to the financial consciousness training that starts January 1st. I love teaching the kids. I'll teach the whole family. I don't care, and don't buy another pass for your relatives. Bring your whole family. Just pay for one person, one slot. We'll feed everybody. It'll make a difference for them. If they have the financial consciousness, then what they're able to do is they're able to understand what's being done to them. They're able to understand when the manipulation takes place, right? It's like imagine if you think about you think about how you have in some of these lawsuits, like the Diddy lawsuits. Sometimes people will say he gave me alcohol and gave me drugs so that he could manipulate me into doing things that I normally would not have done, and that's because the alcohol and the drugs causes you to release your inhibitions and do things that you might not normally do. And that's another reason why I'm just not into alcohol or drugs, because those forms of mind manipulation open the door for people to extract things from you, whatever that is, whatever it is that you have that's valuable, that's on you, in you, or whatever. They're going to come take that because you're not in your right mind. Casinos do that. That's why casinos give you free alcohol, because they know that the studies show that when somebody's drunk, they gamble more. So effectively, a person with economic consciousness who understands how the game is played is able to say, no, I don't want another drink. Or, no, I thank you, but no thank you. I appreciate the fact that you offered me the free sample or you did whatever, but I'm just not interested. My grandma was the best at it. My grandma, I remember, I remember my friend was selling cookies or something, and my grandma came outside, and I was like, hey, I said, hey, mama, he's selling, and she said, no. Like cut me off in the sentence, like, no, I don't want none. I don't want none. And that was her way of saying, like, look, I don't care. Like, I know maybe you're going to try to convince me or persuade me, and or maybe because it's a cute little kid, you think I'm going to spend money on this. No, I'm just not doing it. So don't even ask me. So that level of consciousness, I think, really makes a big difference in your economics, because the capitalist system is built on the assumption that Americans will consume like crazy. When I was at the Center for European Economic Research, I did a whole summer there when I was on the faculty at Syracuse. One of my German colleagues came in, and we were all sitting in our offices doing research and stuff. And he came in and showed me data that showed that Americans, compared to the rest of the world, are financially addicted. That we just spend like crazy. So I would argue that if you get your children out of that early, right? Just basic things. One thing my mother did for me that really helped me a lot is she would preach to us about how you don't need name brand clothes in order to be somebody. And again, maybe that was her way of trying to be cheap. Maybe she just didn't want to spend the money that I wanted her to spend, but that stuck with me. So now, even though I can afford name brand stuff, I just don't care to buy it because that doesn't change who I am or what I am. So a lot of your economic choices are also built on culture and values and things like that. So if I, in contrast, am a person who needs to have the nicest iPhone all the time, who needs to have the nicest shoes, who needs to have the Coach bag and the Gucci purse and all that, um, nothing's wrong with that, but that's going to cost you. That's going to be expensive. And the only reason they can sell you a luxury product 9 times out of 10 is because there's something psychological. Follow me now. There's something psychological that you pick up from that purchase. And it's not really all that real. It's kind of real, but kind of not, right? Like maybe if I have a Coach bag, people will look at me different and treat me different and treat me better. That some of that's kind of real, but then a lot of it's not real, right? Like you're not really a better person. You're not smarter. It's not. It doesn't make your relationships better. It doesn't mean you're a better mom or better father, right? But that's kind of what sort of happens, right? So I would encourage you to gain that economic consciousness yourself, but then also train your children on that. Again, the financial flashcards, if you go to financialflashcards.com, that's a way to look at some of the flashcard bundles. And then also we have financial workbooks for kids of all grade levels. You can go to financialworkbooks.com. We spent years putting that together, so I hope you can take a look. All right, so the other thing I want to mention is in terms of Bitcoin. So here's the deal with Bitcoin.